very successful game series by Epyx, I must admit, I got kind of addicted to sports games. But the problem was that no one else in my family really shared the same level of passion for them as I did. So what do you do when you want to play some Olympic level game but have no one to play it with? Well, you play this great game from Konami called Hypersports. Released in arcades in 1984, Hypersports was more of a balls to the wall fun game, and nothing at all like the Epyx games. But that's not a bad thing at all, far from it. You see, Summer Games would not have worked as an arcade game. It just wouldn't. But Hypersports, on the other hand, was perfect for arcades. The controls were made up of buttons only. Each player had 2 buttons, and almost each event required some serious button bashing to make a real go of it. The events ranged from swimming and skeet shooting to gymnastics and a pole vault, and you had to qualify in each event in order to progress. And qualification was not easy, I can tell you. When I discovered this in the arcades as a young boy, I just couldn't move my fingers fast enough to generate any kind of real pace to be able to beat most events, apart from the swimming and the skeet shooting, as these were relatively simple. But this didn't put me off the game. Compared to Summer Games, this was more fast-paced and actually more enjoyable. The super quick pacing of the game did have this more fun element about it, and in an arcade that is exactly what you need to pull in the punters. Visually, it was levels ahead of Summer Games as well. Far more use of vibrant colours and larger sprites really helped show off the power of the arcade machine. The sound too was really good, especially as Summer Games was really silent. In fact, when playing Summer Games at home, you could almost hear a pin drop, the game was so quiet. The biggest issue for me with Hypersport was that it was simply too tough, and too tiring for me to really give it a good go. But when I learned I could also get it in a Commodore 64, I wasted no time in getting a copy.
Wow. 5.7 meters.
This port on a Commodore 64 was an excellent port of this game. In fact, I remember at the time thinking it was so close to the arcade machine, it could almost be the arcade machine. All of the bright, vibrant visuals were there, and the scrolling too was very smooth. The sound was good as well, but obviously not a patch on the arcade version. And the controls had to be changed somewhat to suit a joystick, and this would result in the frantic joystick waggling as found in most sport games on the home micros. But as the arcade machine had just buttons and no stick, that gave me an idea, and I opted to use a keyboard for this game. My past prejudices of hating keyboard controls would need to take a back seat here, and to my surprise, the keyboard config worked very well. So good in fact, that when going back and playing old athletic games like Daley Thompson's Decathlon, I always used the keyboard. All you had to do was hold down one key while continually tapping the other one, and you would disappear off into the distance. And best of all, it meant no more broken quick shot 2 joysticks. But back to the game. And if I can be honest here, I actually prefer this game over Summer Games and almost every other Epyx games, mainly due to its arcade playing experience, but also as it was just a better game in single player mode. Almost all of the events from the arcade are there, all except the pole vault. But I didn't know that was missing, as I never seen it in the arcades, as I never got that far. The swimming looked fantastic, the skeet shooting looked amazing, and sounded great too, and with easy to use controls was a joy to play. And this is where the game just got even better for me. As it was slightly easier than the arcade, I was now able to progress through the game and see those events I missed out on. The gymnastics, the archery, the triple jump, and probably the best looking event, the weightlifting. The game certainly seemed to have a high production value to it, and round about this time, Commodore 64 would have loads of great arcade ports on it, but 1985 would probably be the last year for really good arcade ports on the 8-bit machine. This game for me was right up there with Summer Games, and while Summer Games was a great game to play with friends, Hyper Sports was a great game to play on your own. But I did play it with mates round from time to time, but their preference was for the Epyx games, and so Hyper Sports never got the recognition I felt it deserved from my mates. The magazines of the time, however, loved the game, and it scored very highly in publications of the time, and became a must-have game for your collection. And if you have the ability to do so, I can recommend either the arcade or the Commodore 64 version, as it's a great fun game to play. And that was my look back at Hypersports. If you like this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Hypersports on any format. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.